What's going on, Fight Feeders? So I know that this has been talked about at length by a lot of different people, different creators. It seems the fan base of MMA is pretty much divided at this point in terms of what side of the fence you're on, whether you believe Tom Aspinall quit against Cyril Gane or you feel he was unjustly fouled several times and couldn't continue because he couldn't see. And there's a lot of ways to break this down, guys. But the main thing that I wanted to go over today, because, now you've got Tom out there sharing his actual medical reports, and then you've got other creators, like MMA Joey, for instance, out there just spewing that it's a fake report. Like, this is the same guy that said Ankalaev's ribs were injured, and his evidence was some Android shot fucking video of Ankalaev in some random back room with what looks like someone might at the UFCPI like touching his ribs. That's the evidence that he was injured. But someone provides a doctor's report and it's fake. And he spent who knows how long, diving into this report and trying to find any fallacies he could. And I bet he spent like 3 hours in ChatGPT like asking questions about NHS, and it's hilarious. It's honestly hilarious because I'm an American as well. I believe MMA Joey is. He's literally diving down a rabbit hole to try to debunk something that it needs no debunking when we have the video evidence of what happened to Tom. And for everyone to act like Tom's eye poke from Cyril, which he got multiple, that is the one thing that's lost in all of this. Or the double eye poke that ended the fight was the second. And you could argue there were other like glancing ones, but there was definitely one other eye poke that happened about 3 minutes into the fight, or with 3 minutes left on the clock. I mean, what I'm going to break down in this video, guys, is I want to just show how idiotic it is when we're sitting here and we're like, we're pulling at straws, right? It's like, okay, Acosta, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, shout out to Waldo. You guys might have seen the video I did. I thought it was amazing what he was able to do. He did get eye poked by Tom's teammate, very unfortunate circumstance, and he goes out there and knocks Anti-Delija out right after. And I have nothing but props for him for that. I just want to show screenshots here, guys, of the two eye pokes, right? Because everyone is now comparing Waldo Cortez-Acosta's eye poke that he endured to Tom's, okay? The first thing off the bat, before I even show you guys the image that I find hilarious about it, is Cortes-Acosta got poked so glancingly and so quickly that the referee literally had to watch it in slow motion to see it even happen. Mark Smith stops the fight. He didn't officially wave his arms, but he stops the fight. And he says, like, Cortez tells him, like, I got eye poked. And Mark Smith literally is heard in the background, like, I see punches, even after watching the replay. That's how fast this was. Meanwhile, Tom's eye poke, every single person watching that event saw clear as day Cyril completely he stabbed Tom's eyes with 2 fingers. And the finger goes in the eye, and like Tom's eyelid like flips up and down from the fucking force of the fingers going into his eye. And now there's fans online actually trying to say Cortez Acosta, he got poked in the eye and kept fighting. Now, I wouldn't even say what happened to Cortez Acosta was an eye poke as much it was an eye scrape. Now, that is not meant to belittle it, right? Because if you have a brain, which most of MMA fans, from what I've seen, it may not have one, or may have a small one or a smooth one. Sometimes the glancing, scratching type shots or pokes to the eye can be way worse than just a simple, poke, right? So it's not to belittle. Like, obviously, we saw the redness and the damage that Cyril had on his eye, okay? But that is one thing that the fans are trying to, like, dive into, right? They're like, oh, well, Cortez Acosta's eye was so red, way more damage than Tom's. And it's like, his eye was open and he received kind of like a scraping motion, right? And the thing is, a lot of people are shitting on Anti-Delija. It is horrible that he said that week he never eye poked anybody. But if you guys actually watch this in slow motion, the reason that the eye scrape happens in this moment of the fight with Anti-Delija is because he is actually pawing out the jab. He does have his fingers probably not where they should. I think they start up, but what ends up happening is Cortez Acosta parries it, right? Because it looks like he's throwing the jab, but he parries it. And when he parries it, that's what pushes the hand off and causes the scraping motion. Now, I'm not a fucking doctor, obviously, but what I will say is when Tom got poked, his eyes were, I think, closed at the moment. And so I think that in and of itself would stop any of that like abrasion aspect directly on the cornea with the fingernails and stuff that would cause the redness. So I'm not a doctor, but if any of you guys are, maybe you can shed some light on that. But that could be, I think, a reason why you're seeing less redness in Tom's eye. But that does not minimize the amount of potential damage he received on the eye. Because if you guys who have, this take that Tom quit and stuff, none of you have ever sustained any type of eye injury. I can just say that with absolute certainty. If you think Tom quit, you have never been poked in the eye. You've never received an eye injury. You've never been punched in the eye. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And I mean, most of you fuckers saying that Tom quit can't even finish a fucking match of Call of Duty without quitting. And you're going to fucking talk about Tom, who got literally Cyril's fucking sausage fingers dug into his fucking eye. But you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys. We're going to look at it. So let's compare these eye pokes. Got it on my screen here. As you can see, guys, look at Cyril's finger. I think that's his index finger. How deep that is in Tom's eye. And the finger, as I mentioned on Cortes-Acosta, that got Cortes-Acosta in the eye, it's actually kind of hard to tell if you're watching it even in slow motion, because when you watch this in slow motion, it happens so quickly and the camera angles are not very good. So I did do my best to try to get the best, frame of it. It's the pinky finger that kind of just ever so slightly like touches it. It definitely pokes and like scrapes the eye, and it's definitely not something to make light of. I think that Cortez Acosta, he very well could have been like, I can't see, but it sounded like based on what he was going through, he could still see. Now, Tom, on the other hand, got double eye poked. And so everybody wants to call out, oh, Tom's like left eye is the one that should be damaged, not the right. Dude, the force that Cyril had when he dug those fingers in to his right eyeball and left, but the right specifically, if you actually read the doctor's report, which everyone's saying, or not everyone, but a lot of people are trying to say is fake, they talk about the fact that the orbital bone or the orbital wall behind the eyeball, which is in your eye socket, was fractured. Okay. And so what you end up seeing online is I've seen a couple people try to say, oh, well, Cyril fractured his orbital bone with a fucking jab. Go watch the fight and show me where Cyril actually punches Tom in the eye once. Because I didn't see it. I saw Cyril's jab land on Tom's nose, and then I saw him land a big shot on Tom's nose that made it bleed, but which it's so funny because the same people that said, oh, he broke Tom's nose because it was bloody, where's the debate on that one? Because Tom's nose isn't broken. But it was, according to a lot of fans, right? Regardless, the orbital wall that's in your eye, that makes up your eye socket in the back, for that to be fractured is pure evidence of Cyril's foul when he dug that finger deep into Tom's eye so far that it literally hit that orbital wall that broke. And I actually learned about this more today. Tom actually shared that orbital wall bone, the orbital wall bone is about as thin as your fingernail. So it's not easy, or it's not hard to fracture that, but that's what supports your eye. And what allows your eye to have, free range of motion and things of that nature. Obviously, there's a bunch of other things in your eye that, dude, I'm not an eye doctor. This is just basic research. I find this all honestly appalling as a diehard MMA fan like I am, that anyone who's a fan of this sport would sit here and actually say that one of these fighters is faking it because they were losing the fight. But it's the same people that said Bilal was faking against Leon, even though we saw how bad that eye poke was. I just can't seem to get my head around how people are actually out here saying that not only that Tom is faking this injury, but also saying that he quit the fight because he was losing. Guys, it was one round of action where Cyril landed 3 more strikes than Tom. And if you go watch the breakdown I did of that entire engagement between the two of them from, the first minute of the fight to when it gets stopped, you'll notice a lot of the significant strikes that got scored were little fucking pussy jabs to the chest of Tom. Now, Cyril, I do think, was winning that round, okay? Cyril did land that big shot on Tom's nose that made his nose bleed, not break, but bleed. And that is visible damage that if I'm scoring that round, I would give that to Cyril. It was still a close round, though. By no means. Like, the way people talk about this round as though it's a 10-8 round or something, it's not even fucking close. And for everyone online to think that Tom would just up and quit because he's somehow getting bested so badly, although he wasn't even close to knocked down. All that happened to Tom, really, the most damaging shots outside of that one left hand, I think it was a left hand that Cyril landed. Outside of that, the most damaging blows that he received were the eye pokes from Cyril. And somehow everybody is trying to act like Tom's out here faking this or milking this. I cannot even fathom it. And I know that, like, there's going to be the debate of like, oh, well, Bisping fought with one eye. Guys, Bisping lost his eye in January of 2013. He did continue to fight, and he's a G for that. But by the time Bisping won the belt in 2016, he's already not had an eye for 3 years. So he had time. I'm not saying it's any easier, of course, but he did have time to kind of figure out how to see without it, and he had no choice. But what you guys wanted Tom to do is immediately after being fingered in his eyeballs, you guys expect him to shake off the dust and figure out a way to fight Cyril with no vision. Like, how fucking dumb is that? I do feel like right now we're in this weird timeline with UFC, MMA, and the fan base specifically. It's like we're in idiocracy. It's like we're just all, I don't know. I'm not even that smart of a person, but I just feel like the takes and comments from fans, which could be rage bait for the most part, but there are so many fans online who are just loving to say that Tom quit this fight. Tom's running from Cyril. It is absolutely hilarious. And what's even more hilarious is that fans are now saying, oh, like, Tom's just going to sit out and, take the belt from him. He needs to vacate. Are the same fans who probably supported Jon Jones sitting on the belt for so long. Jon Jones sat on the heavyweight belt for so long that he made Tom Aspinall the longest reigning interim belt holder in UFC history. But you don't want to sit there and vacate Jon. Like, you guys didn't want to vacate Jon's belt when he sat there and he created the longest reigning interim champ in history because he was just not doing shit. And it's the same fans. Like, if you guys are really going to sit there and support Jon Jones not fighting for as long as he did, which Jon Jones, I mean, dude, the guy literally has barely even fought in this fucking decade. He fought 2020, 2023, 2024. That's less than one fight per year. But those same fans want to try to say Tom needs to be stripped of his heavyweight belt that he's only had since June, which he earned, mind you. Tom earned that belt because if you don't remember, Tom won the interim belt, knocking out the number one contender backup for the Jon Jones versus Stipe bout when Jon Jones had to pull out due to injury, which no one wants to talk about that, right? No one wants to talk about Jon quitting before the fight. Right? No one wants to talk about that. Because if Tom should have to fight with one eye, Jon should have to fight with one shoulder and one chest muscle. And I hope you've realized that I'm not being serious. I'm just trying to show you the retarded logic that some of these people are using. It's the same thing as saying, like, why didn't Anderson Silva stand up? He could have kept fighting. He quit. No, he couldn't keep fighting. He couldn't fucking stand. His leg was broken. But you guys want to, just because every other part of your body works, you're supposed to, as a fighter at the highest level, fight with one eye. Make it make sense. And don't say, oh, well, Bisping or Sharamagomedov, first of all, Sharamagomedov, I don't even know how, I'm pretty sure he has never had two eyes. So what choice does he have? Same thing with Bisping. He lost his eye. He didn't have a choice. He had to fight with one eye. He had to learn how to live with one eye and fight with one eye. Tom walked into an octagon on October 22nd with full vision. And within 4 minutes, he's got his eye poked twice, brutally, and now he can't see. And you guys are expecting Tom in that moment to just be able to fight through it as if you have fought through fucking anything in your life. It's fucking, it is so frustrating to see this shit. And I just had to fucking make a video to rant about it because I really cannot seem to wrap my head around the logic that people are spewing about this. It's absolutely ridiculous. But let's go back to Tom earning the belt. Tom earned this belt because he beat Sergey Pavlovich because Mr. Jones couldn't make the fight. And so they rebooked this fight on 10 days notice while Tom has an injured back. And he goes out there and he starches out Sergey. And then not only that, you guys want to talk about Tom being inactive. Tom sits for, what was that, November of 2023. Tom then goes and fights Curtis Blades, who's pretty much the number one contender at this point in the heavyweight division, on July 27, 2024, and he beats him. He defends his interim belt because John won't fight him. John's trying to fight Stipe. And you guys still want to act like he was gifted the belt. My question for anyone who thinks that Tom was gifted the heavyweight belt, how many top contenders did John Jones beat at heavyweight? He beat Cyril Gane in his first heavyweight matchup, and he beat Stipe Miocic, which, guys, as much as I respect Stipe, whatever ranking Stipe was granted by the UFC when he fought Jones was a gifted ranking because Stipe did not fight since 2021 before he fought John. 3 years of inactivity. There's no way he can even be ranked. But regardless, two people. Tom has beaten, at this point, and at the point when he fought Cyril Gane, 5 of the top 10 guys. And you want to sit here and act as though he didn't earn that belt. He's literally he's beat double the amount of contenders that John has at heavyweight. And you guys want to say he was gifted the belt. It's not gifted when John didn't want to defend it. But you guys were okay John took it. How much time? John's fight was booked against Stipe in November 2023. He had his injury. John didn't fight Stipe till November of 2024. An entire year. You guys haven't even gotten to 2 months since Tom was fingered in the eyes, and you're saying that he should be vacated. Like, what in the fuck are you talking about? But you're okay with John Jones sitting on the heavyweight belt, keeping it warm like a little ducky. Like, it's so fucking, like, honestly, I'm having a rough time, guys. I'm having a rough time with these takes. I can't sit here and actually say how people think Tom quit the fight. And the thing is, the only thing I can actually come back to is that if you believe Tom quit, I have to believe you have never been even, like, remotely hit, touched, poked in the eye in your entire life. Because only people who have had that happen are the ones who understand it. That's why Bilal Muhammad made a video and actually talked about this situation with Tom, talked about how people are going to bash him, but he understands it. So let's just look at the evidence of fighters who've actually dealt with that. And let's talk about fighters who've dealt with actual eye damage. Because Cortez Acosta, although got eye poked, he didn't actually receive any long-term damage. Now, everyone wants to go, oh, like, the doctor said Tom's cleared. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of multiple opinions? Because you guys do realize if you go ask any person if they've ever heard of or personally dealt with a situation where a doctor misdiagnosed them. For instance, I have a personal story. My girlfriend fractured her wrist as a child, was in extreme pain, went to the doctor. Doctor said it's not broken. So for 2 weeks, she was a base in cheerleading with extreme pain in her wrist, and suddenly another, they go for, I think, another opinion, and another doctor ends up outlining that this is actually, she did have a fractured wrist. You know how many people have been misdiagnosed by doctors for, not having cancer? And I know another personal story. Family friend was diagnosed with Lyme's disease and all of these other things. And then suddenly that same person goes to multiple doctors until finally they do like a full scan. It goes to another doctor who does a full scan, and he has severe brain tumors. So you got the doctor saying it's Lyme's disease, he'll be okay, to severe brain tumors, could die at any point. Those are just 2 examples I personally can think of. I'm sure you guys can think of them too. But to sit there and act like some Abu Dhabi doctor who, as Tom mentioned in the video that he talked with Ariel on, these are doctors that, from what I can understand, it's like a trauma response center where they are dealing with like people who are actually really fucked up. And like, not to say, Tom's eye injury is a serious injury, but these are people who are dealing with like, someone who could be dying, right? Like they're bleeding out or something like that. So they're not going to have the tools to really go and like diagnose what Tom's eye is. I don't even think the guy that was there in that initial video. And I do think that Tom is to blame for, him and his team probably shouldn't have released that initial video. But regardless, that guy, I guarantee you, was not an eye specialist. What the fuck do I know? I'm just a normal person who I have a just over 100 IQ. I'm not that smart, but I guess I just can think and use my brain and can realize that, okay, just because one doctor says X doesn't mean it's Y. But for some reason, guys, it's so hard for a lot of MMA fans to realize this. And I just think that we're going to a dark place if we are consistently, like, this is something that happens, right? So these fans are congratulating Gane and acting like Gane did something so great. The dude landed like one hard, straight left punch and some jabs and leg kicks. And you guys want to act like he did this amazing performance when he's the reason the fight ended early. He literally dug his fingers into Tom's eyes. And he is the reason the fight ended early, not Tom. Because if you actually believe someone should fight with no vision after being poked in the eyes, and then you're probably the same people that think Ian Gary just dominated Bilal, but you forget to examine the fact that Ian Gary, he did have a good performance, but he didn't gouge. He poked Bilal in the eye 2 times. He even did the little fucking double thing where oh, my hands weren't extended. But you fucking poked him with a finger nonetheless. It doesn't matter if it's extended or not. You can't poke somebody in the fucking eye. I would love to see the MMA rules that say you can poke your opponent in the eye so long as your finger is curled. I would love to fucking read that. All I can say, guys, is I just think that you can hate Tom Aspinall all you want. I'm not a hater of Tom, clearly. I'm supporting him here. But I think you guys need to, like, the fans that really believe this narrative that he's faking, he quit, all this bullshit, you really need to take a step back and, like, try to put yourself in that position. Try to think, okay, I've got a killer in front of me trying to take my head off and he pokes me in the eyes, which is not allowed. Like, just try to, like, put yourself in that position. Have you guys ever heard of, like, Try to Walk 2 Moons in Someone's Moccasins? It's a fucking book that at least I had to read when I was a child, because I think it's very important for people to try to understand what someone might be going through. I guess that's hard for a lot of people, especially MMA fans, but that is my take. I'm like honestly disheartened, guys, by the amount of bullshit that is being thrown out there against Tom's name, when a few months ago, Tom was getting the praise I feel he deserved as a champ and a guy who's backed his shit up. He's gone out there. He's a humble guy. He's gone out there and he's had amazing performances. One of the most exciting fighters I've ever watched in the UFC. And because he can't continue after being eye gouged, he's now like on everybody's shit list. It just makes zero sense to me. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear from you guys about it in the comments, even if you're a hater. But try to actually come with a valid argument, and we can actually have some solid discourse here. Even if you disagree, I would love to actually talk about it. So thank you guys so much. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to Fite Feed and give this video a like. See you guys in the next one.